I had this mentor really early on in my career who said, never do what you love because then it becomes work. And so just a completely counter take. And this guy was a guy who just had he had 3 or 4 stores that he ran, and he retired at age 28. And not as a gazillionaire. I think he made something in the neighborhood of probably like $30,000, $40,000 a month, take home. And for 20 years, he did nothing besides collect his money once a month, and then he played golf 5 days a week, and he got to hang out and basically be there for the entirety of his kids, and he loved that. And that he accomplished. He used to tell me, he's like, I slayed the dragon of life. And so what's interesting is that now that his girls are out of the house, he now is going back, and he's back into work. He's like, well, what am I going to do now, right? I wholeheartedly agree with the not following your passion piece. The practical translation might be, or at least my third myth that I would probably tack onto this as we're building these, is overbelief in idea and underbelief in execution.
Oh yeah, so true.
And so there's 2 elements to this. So one is that I think many people who are intimidated to start believe that they have to start the next Facebook, and the Zuckerbergs and the Bezos of the world are so incredibly rare. The vast majority of people who got into business have many failed businesses that led them to fail into success, right? And so one is that the idea has to be this big, amazing thing. And the second is that that the idea itself is the success, right? Because they'll share it with as many people as they can, and they almost scratch the itch of starting when you haven't done anything. I say there's basically 4 steps to starting a business. It's like, you have to get an LLC, you take the LLC to a bank, and then you get a bank account, and then you connect that bank account to a payment processor. And then you go ask a stranger if you can do something in exchange for money. And if you do all 4 of those things, you have a business. That's it, right? And so a lot of people spend years being like, I'm going to start a business one day. It's like, you can do it tomorrow. You could literally do all of this tomorrow. And then it's like, okay, well then how do I get the person to exchange money? It's like, well, you reach out to the people you know, right? You open your phone, you look at the 400 contacts you have there, you open up your Facebook profile, you have 300 friends, you look at those friends, and then you just say, hey, you send a personal video, you send a personal text and say, hey, I am starting this thing. This is what we're doing. This is what I'm solving. Do you know anybody? That's it. And so it's not even like you're asking your friends to buy something from you. What's interesting though is that 90% of the time, the person who responds is, oh, you could do that for me if you want. But that just gives you the easiest way that costs $0. And because we're all connected with the internet and phones, it's like the barrier to entry has never been lower than it is now. It's just the problem is that the barrier to distraction is even lower.
What stood out to me there is the personal text, the video, and the email. And then the fact that you're asking your friends to introduce you to people who may want it, not asking them directly. That first part, the amount of emails I get, and I'm sure you get as well, of people pitching their services to you, but none of them are personalized. Walk me through the difference of that personal video, because it's life-changing, like when it's done right.
So, I mean, these are your friends, or at least your contacts that you've met at some point in your life. And so trying to recall when you met that person, literally just stating their name and asking that it's, hey, I'm going to be doing this. And I would say consistency is the currency of credibility. So what people don't want to do is refer a friend to somebody who's fly by night. But if you can actually just demonstrate that, hey, he's still doing that, the likelihood that they're going to refer someone goes way up, because the relational capital is not nearly at risk. Because if I'm going to introduce somebody to somebody else, I'm risking my social capital on the hope that the third party, or whoever is sending this original text, is actually going to do a good job. And so you can also include a little bit of risk reversal in that, which is like, hey, I'm doing the first 10 for free. And the reason I'm doing it is because I just want to get some testimonials, get some reviews, and also just so that I can learn too. And I think just being really upfront and being really honest about it makes the stakes feel a lot easier. And so then those first 10 people, you do exactly that. And the thing is that you're going to be better off than they will. For those of you who are like, I don't want to work for free. It's like, you're not working for free. You're learning and then you're earning. And so we got to go through the learn phase first. And the best way to do it is people who aren't direct connections of yours, maybe one step removed. And then at that point, they're going to give you very real feedback. And if you do a good job, then after a certain point, my goal is to get people to basically shift supply demand in their favor. Like I'd say the two laws of business that I am the most moved by are supply and demand, which is this X here, and then leverage. So that's a fulcrum for leverage. And so I see those are the 2 biggest forces in business. And so I want to create artificial demand for somebody who's starting out by just saying, we'll do a lot of stuff for free. And then what happens is when you have no more time to give, and if people still want you to do stuff, and you say, hey, I can't take any more people. If you want, you can pay. And people are like, yeah, that's fine. And then boom, and then you make your first sale. And you'll have confidence because you're like, well, I just did it 20 other times and look at the results from those people. And the first one you'll be embarrassed about. The 19th one, you're like, wow, you're gonna have already paid down 60, 70% of all the mess ups that you were gonna do. Yeah. And then at that point, you're gonna start feeling good. And then from there, my way of doing it is you just keep bumping the price by 20% every 5 people until eventually people stop saying yes. And then after we're like, okay, this is the price I can do for now. And that's basically a very seamless transition into how do I go from nothing to making my first dollar.
How do you get over the block of, I don't wanna work for free?
I actually think it's entitlement. I think it's believing that you deserve something for nothing. Like, to flip the roles in reverse, imagine somebody comes to you, they've never done anything ever in this particular space, and they say, hey, will you pay me to do this thing? Would you immediately, now maybe some people would be like, sure, then it's a charity thing, which is different, but would you be like, you know what, I really believe that this guy is the best person that I can get this problem solved from? Probably not. And so to carry some of that risk for yourself, you say, I'm gonna front this, but if you want to not do it for free, thing number one is that you're getting educated. So like you're getting free education, which I see as absolutely valuable. The second thing is that you can make terms that don't necessarily mean that it's free. Like there's the price and then there's the terms. The terms of the agreement can be, if you do this with me, you have to give me feedback throughout the entire process. And at the end, if I do a good job, you leave a review, right? And on 3 different formats, and leave me a video and leave me a text version of it. That's now absolute, like I'll say it differently. A business owner, they do illegally, and so therefore they're very willing to pay people to leave them testimonials. And so if you'd be willing to pay $500 to get an amazing testimonial, then they're basically, they've paid you that $500, but I promise you, those first 5-10 reviews will make you so much more than they could ever have paid you and not given you a testimonial. Yeah. So if we flip it and say, hey, would you rather get $1,000 from this person and have them not leave a review versus free and a glowing review? I promise you, you will make so much more from one glowing review than you will from the $1,000 long-term. Yeah. So you're just building up the stockpile, the foundation to then build whatever you want to build on top of it.
Yeah, it's really strong advice. I hope everyone who's listening and watching right now is like going, this is what I'm going to do right now, like 10 hours for free, because that's where we're blocking ourselves. We don't have the experience. Yeah. And therefore we don't feel comfortable selling more because we don't even know how the service will look. Yeah. Right? So you're trying to sell a service and maybe you sold one, but you haven't been through the full life cycle of what it feels like to deliver that service. Yep. Now you don't know how many website revisions or edits there's going to be. You don't know how many app updates they're going to be. You have no idea. Yeah. And now you're actually less likely to go sell another one because you're scared that you don't even know if you can do it. And I feel under that entitlement is an insecurity of, I don't actually even know how to do this. Like I've got a lot of friends who are like really talented, really skilled. They actually would do a great job. Yeah. But because they've never just done 10 clients for free, they don't know how it's going to be if they went and got 100 clients tomorrow. Yeah. So they're scared of getting 100 clients. Yeah. Not because they're not capable, but because they haven't taken 10 clients through the process.
So I'm going to give you something super tactile for the audience.
Yeah, please.
Just 10 by 10. So give 10 people 10 hours. And so you can say, hey, I'm going to do 10 hours of work for free. That is a really compelling offer. And you're going to do it one-on-one and ideally with them. And so if you want to build the website, build it in front of them for the 10 hours so they can give you real-time feedback. If you want to, write email copy, you still meet with them once a week, or not, ideally multiple times a week during that, so you can pay down the 10 hours faster. And if you're worried, you can do 5 people for 5 hours. That matters less, but it's more that one-on-one, so the least scalable thing possible, and it's free labor that they can track. The reason that's such a compelling offer is that everyone, even in every country, even minimum wage has value. Anybody can understand that 5 hours of work is a material amount of work that you're choosing to give away for free. And so even if you have no expertise, labor at base price is still worth something. And so if you add on expertise, it becomes a very compelling offer. But the beauty of that setup of having 5 or 10 hours that you choose to spend is that there's basically, if you're doing it one-on-one, there's almost no technical, component to it. You don't have to like build all these calendaring and schedule. It's just like, you're just going to text those 5 people, hey, you want to do same time tomorrow. Very simple. And then for each of those, calls that you'll take with them, in the very first call, you just say, hey, I want to just be clear, what's the problem? What do you want to solve? And do you mind at the end of the 5 hours we spend together, if this was good, if I can tell you about what I do? if you just set that pre-frame up front, and then you do the hours on the 5th call or the 5th hour or the 10th hour, you can say, hey, remember I said at the beginning, I was like, has this been good so far? It's like, awesome. Let me just recap what we've done, what we've covered and the progress we've made. Do you feel happy about that? Great. So this is what I think it would look like. Because also you spent those 5 or 10 hours getting as much information or ammunition from them of all the other problems that you could potentially solve. And then at that point says, hey, I think that I can solve problem 1, 2, and 3. It'll take me maybe 6 months, but this is what kind of an engagement would look like. How does that sound to you? That's all you have to do. And the thing is that after you give someone 5 or 10 hours, there's so much reciprocity that's built up. They're like, well, shoot, I mean, sure. Now, if somebody on the first call says, no, I don't want to, then it's like, you don't even need to like continue. And so one of the big things that I'm a big proponent of is absolutely give stuff away for free to people who are qualified.
Yes.
And so we're like, I don't want a lot of tire kickers. It's like, for sure, neither do I. But if I had a room of 100 of the most qualified people, which if you're like, what are a qualified person? It's BANT. So IBM figured this out like 70 years ago, and it's really never changed. So BANT is budget, authority, need, timing. They have the money to spend, the ability to make the decision. They need the thing right now, and is it now a priority? And so if we had a room of 100 people who met all 4 of those criteria, wouldn't you want to do something and spend 5 or 10 hours for free? I mean, my God, like, if you could sign, like the reason they sell timeshares over 6-hour blocks of time is because it just takes time to build trust for a higher ticket sale. So if anything, it's like you're choosing to say that I'm going to give you 5 hours, but they're giving you 5 hours to influence them to ultimately prove that you're good at whatever you do. Yeah. And so I think that is the easiest way to get started. You can make that your front end offer. You can put that in the video. And I think the beauty of that specific offer is that you don't need to even figure out what you're going to sell because you'll figure it out during the time you spend with them. Yeah. And so you can figure out the offer in real time with them. And also because you're doing it one-on-one, you can basically, you can permutate it. You can tweak it every single time you pitch it to somebody on the 5th or 8th call or whatever. That ultimately gets you so many faster iterations that are low risk.
Yeah.